I have guests with me today who are really amazing. I have Tameka Johnson, who is a patient advocate, Amanda Lacy as well, and I have, where did she go? Maricia Cole. So I'm going to ask you all to share a bit about your story, where you're from, and your breast cancer journey. I'll start with Maricia.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. Thankful, honestly, to be where I was in order to receive treatments. I felt like I was able to get a lot of resources being here. But yeah, I was diagnosed with HER2 positive stage 2 invasive ductal carcinoma in March of 2020. I was 36 years old, and now I've been in remission for 2 years. I'm also now a Tigerlily angel advocate, and it has been such a blessing to my life to advocate for women coming behind me. I want to just make sure that everyone speaks up for themselves, especially with something like side effects. I don't want any of our patients going through a breast cancer, treatment and thinking that this is just normal. I'm supposed to have this pain. I'm supposed to have this gut problem. I'm supposed to be fatigued. Those things, if you're overly fatigued, if you're, feeling like maybe you had a allergic reaction or some type of reaction to something, just always speak up. Always know that you have a voice and you have the power to use that voice. And if you're ever, afraid, that's why we're here. That's why Tigerlily is here, to help you, to help yourself. So I'm thankful to be here today and thankful for the opportunity.
That was beautifully said. I remember when I was in treatment, it was just like I would call the doctor, and that had so many things that were going on, we'll discuss more in detail, but bone pain, nausea, numbness, tingling, and people think that I don't want to bother a doctor or a nurse, but that's what they're there for, right? To support you throughout the journey. So thanks for sharing that, Maricia. I'm going to go on to Tameka next. Can you share a bit about where you're from in your breast cancer journey?
Thank you. My name is Tameka. I am now 40 years old, but originally diagnosed in 2013 at the age of 31 with HER2 estrogen receptor and progesterone receptor positive breast cancer stage 2 initially. And then in 2016, my cancer progressed from my breast to my collarbone, where now it's in my spine and in my lung. So I'm now stage 4. So 2016, I became stage 4, and my treatment have gone up and down and changed and all of those things. But I am so blessed to have found Tigerlily and my tribe, which I feel is my tribe, trying to learn. I'm learning, but I'm also bringing to the table what I know and what I've learned across this journey that has been so long for me. My first battle with cancer was 13. So I am, taking everything in that I'm learning, and I'm sharing it with other people. And that's the main goal for me, is to be able to share what I know and to be able to help other women to advocate for themselves. Because I do know when I didn't advocate for myself, and I remember being that patient that was afraid to go against what the doctor was saying because they're the professional. But I know that when I found my voice, things began to change. So we have to learn to speak up for ourselves. We have to learn to make sure that we're telling them everything that's going on with us, because we just never know what that one small thing could be. So I know for me, they get tired of my emails or my calls, like, I got this bruise here and I don't know where it came from, or I have this here and I can't, breathe, or whatever the case may be. I make sure that I'm always in contact and opening up with my doctors. So that's just my goal, to be able to share with other women or men, anybody who's going through, even a child, because I also had childhood cancer. So, I'm just here to be a light for others.
And you are a light for others. I just really love your energy. And what you said was so powerful when, like the doctor-patient connections of relationship, right? If you don't tell them what your needs are, they can't meet you where you are. And the
Right.
more you share and the more you tell them, they can learn how to better engage the other patient, because people don't know. They might know what they're taught to know, but we're the teachers as well. We're teaching them how to serve us and support us. So that is really cyclical and bidirectional. So it's really important. Thank you. Over to Amanda.
I was diagnosed at 45 in September of 2019 with stage 2B IDC. I was triple positive, so hormone positive and HER2 positive, and it came out of the blue. I am a researcher at heart, and so what I do now as a mentor is really try to empower women to ask questions and to have access to all that's available so that they can make a choice if they want a certain treatment or not based on all the facts. I want to make sure that everybody knows and has access to all the newest research, and maybe there's something that has came out that now is available to people that maybe wouldn't have been when you started treatment. And so I love being able to share the information with others and really empowering women to get a little bit of control back, because I know that cancer sort of takes everything away and you feel sort of like you don't have control. But this learning more, researching more, and getting all the facts really does give you a little bit of that control back.
I'm going to call on Eric next. Eric Cohen. Can you share a bit about your background, Eric, with our viewers?
I'm an oncology nurse. I've been an oncology nurse over 25 years. I started in inpatient, but then moved to outpatient infusion. I was actually I was giving Herceptin in clinical trials before Herceptin was approved. I also became a patient educator. That was what I was doing at Life with Cancer. And because of that experience, I decided to get a master's degree in nutrition and integrative health. And I bring that background into managing side effects as well. So
how do chemotherapy treatments differ in terms of like what chemotherapy has, what side effects? Like how are they different in terms of, which treatment and what side effects you can expect to have during different treatment options?
So that's actually quite a complex question, right? There are, maybe think about it this way. There are chemotherapies. There are many different classes of drugs within chemotherapies. Chemotherapy is not just one medicine, right? There are many. And in fact, there are so many that they're all in different classes. And every one of those classes has a different group of potential side effects. But we have chemotherapy, which you can think about this as I hate the war analogies, but this one really works. It is carpet bombing, right? It's just sort of dropping bombs all over the body and blowing everything up, okay? And so there's a lot of collateral damage, which would be just innocent bystander cells that make you, depending on where it is in the body, make you have certain side effects. There are also targeted therapies today, and targeted therapies are more like a heat-seeking missile. So they have a particular target, and those side effects are a little more narrow and can also be fairly well predicted. So we have two of those. We have really two sets of things, okay? And there's a huge list of what potential side effects might be from a particular drug. It's always really important to ask, what are the ones that your healthcare team sees the most? What are the ones they feel are the most common for your therapy? And that's a question to ask, I think, your provider. I can tell you what I see is probably the most common things. Number one, fatigue, right? Fatigue is definitely a huge side effect. And there are two kinds of fatigue: physical fatigue and cognitive fatigue. And I don't think we talk enough about cognitive fatigue. Physical fatigue, lethargy, you can't really do much, hard to walk up the stairs or take a walk around the block. But cognitive fatigue can be not being able to finish an email, or read a chapter or finish a page even in a book. It just seems overwhelming. And that's from the chemotherapy as well. That is.
These are different kinds of chemo fatigue, though. There's the one where your brain just has chemo brain, And there's one where you're
Yes.
just getting all this data. You're being told about cancer, screening, testing options, and your brain just goes, I'm done. So
Yeah.
there's, data overload. Then there's also the chemo brain fog that we have as well.
Yes, absolutely. And it's very real. And don't let anybody tell you it's not real. It's real.
It's real. I still have it after 16 years. So it's
Yeah.
very real. And I think, yeah, so that brings me to my next question though. Like, so when you're in treatment, there's and right out of treatment, there's like the short-term side effects. Then there's, more long-term side effects. Then there's things you experience down the road that are more like later stage. Can you share with the audience?
Yeah. So short-term essentially are side effects that begin within the first 24 to 48 hours of receiving the treatment, right? The minute the medicine starts flowing into your body, you can start feeling some of these short-term side effects. That could be things like nausea, right? Hair loss, I would say hair loss is in that short term, because even though it takes a few weeks before it starts, it's really beginning when you first get the medicine. GI issues, so constipation, diarrhea, and loss of appetite, those are generally those are short-term side effects, and the ones that you feel the most right up front. In terms of long-term side effects, those are ones that also begin in the beginning, but they just last a really long time, like peripheral neuropathy, the tingling in your hands and fingers and in your toes. That is real and it can last for a long time. It goes away very slowly, but so slowly that you don't even really notice. And then one day you wake up many years later and say, you know what, I don't feel that tingling anymore. But that would be a long-term side effect. And then there are something that we call late effects. And a late effect is something that you don't have up front, but that comes late, may come later in your life. Like cardiotoxicity is the big one with HER2 positive disease, right? Trastuzumab-based therapies can have some impact on your heart function. Generally, it doesn't happen till later in life. So yeah, that's sort of how we characterize those things.
But what are some of the things that, you, Maricia and Tameka and Amanda, what are some side effects that you experience? Then I'll go back to Eric.
No, but
Yeah, and I'll try to go quick, because actually just having this conversation is even bringing up more side effects, having chemo brain, like, oh yeah. So I remember now having lacrimal duct stenosis, where my eyes would just water and water and water. I was like, what is wrong with me? But I even had to go and see an eye doctor for it and stuff like that. But just the fatigue, the GI issues, I ended up needing to just kind of switch to a really bland diet. And my oncologist would kind of just be like, eat whatever you feel like you can eat. But I had to eat some things and have bad, reactions, and then like trial and error kind of things until I just changed it to a bland diet. But mostly GI, fatigue, like I said, the eye watering, just really dry skin. I had so many things. Of course, my hair came out, and that's everywhere. That's just not on your head. That's, your eyebrows, your eyelashes, everything. You look like a totally different person. But I had a lot of weight loss, so multiple things.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Tameka, what are some side effects you experienced when you had your treatment?
I'm actually still on treatment. So
That's right.
I'm in that trastuzumab family. And so I have hair loss, I have fatigue, major fatigue. That's why I had to stop working. I have neuropathy in my feet. My feet are like black on the bottom. I have gastro issues. I'm having hearing issues now. So that's something that they're looking into. And it's really the main thing that I have the biggest issues with are fatigue and gastro. Like those two are the absolute like worse for me right now. You know, my hair, I can put on a wig and keep it moving. You know, I've had my eyebrows microbladed. Thank you, Tigerlily. But I'm just like, those issues right now are the main ones I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah, and you're going to be in long-term treatment for the rest of your life, right? I
Right.
want to come back to that because it's one thing when you're early stage and having to deal with, side effects, but then when you're metastatic, you know that that's for the rest of your life. How do you manage, GI and fatigue every day for the rest of your life? So I want to come back to Eric at some point, and ask about how to manage, but I want to make sure I honor Amanda's experience as well.
Sure, I'll be brief. The biggest thing that I noticed was fatigue. I have three very active kids, and I volunteered. I was on boards. I work in the nonprofit sector. I own a company, and there was so much I had to sit down and sort of prioritize. And so I set limits in the day. I can do a certain amount of things a day, and then I know that my brain will stop about 3 or 4 o'clock, and I'm done for the rest of the day. That it really focus and fatigue were the hardest things for me to sort of adjust to, but it was totally manageable once I accepted it and realized that was sort of the new normal.
Thank you for sharing, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course. This is great.
And
This is your platform for all of you.
Another thing is that I'm experiencing now, which kind of eliminates me a little bit from the clinical trials, are the heart issues because of the medication. So I do have what they consider heart failure because of the constant wear and tear on my heart from the medications.
That's a lot to deal with, that we deal with smiles, but it's still our life, and we're in these bodies, and it's hard to manage. But I want to go back to Eric, ask you a question. What are the things that can trigger or exacerbate side effects like gastro, fatigue, the appetite issues, constipation, neuropathy, nail problems, nosebleeds? Tameka mentioned that your feet getting black. I didn't know that would get like darker skinned.
So I have a few things, but first I just want everyone to understand that these are side effects that are definitely coming from the medicine, not from anything you did or didn't do in your life. Okay, so that's first. It's really important for you to understand that this is coming 99% from the medicine. Okay, maybe 100%. Now, what are some of the things that I think are important? So everybody's mentioned fatigue as a big one, and GI side effects as a big one, and the cardiotoxicities. Those are the ones I'm hearing today as the main ones. Okay, sleep is critically important, right? It's critically important for everyone, but especially for those of you going through active treatment and those of you that have been on treatment, right? So doing things that can improve the quality of your sleep, having a consistent bedtime and wake time. If you're having trouble sleeping, you need to really establish some consistency. That is, you pick a time that you're always going to try to be in bed, and you pick a time that you're always going to wake up, even if you don't have to wake up. Let's say you pick 7 a.m. because of your work schedule, and now it's the weekend. You still want to get up at 7 a.m., at least for the first month or two, until your body really regulates and understands that this is the time to sleep. So that's a really big part of sleep training, is just that consistency. The other thing is make that room as dark as possible. If you can't have, blackout curtains, you can wear a mask. Cover the little green or blue dots from all of your electronic equipment. I just heard that Amazon sells little things that you can stick on those things, or just use black electrical tape. But make that room as dark as possible. Why? Because the darker it is, the stronger your melatonin response. We're not really supposed to be sleeping during the day. We're supposed to sleep when the sun goes down. That's when the melatonin comes out. So you got to make it as dark as possible. Have it cool, if not cold, as cool as possible. Even if that means you're bundling up, that's fine, but make that room really nice and chilly as possible. Use a fan if that's one of the things you need to do. And then I would say in the morning, making sure you get up and get some sunlight, because that sunlight, number one, it triggers your cortisol, which is the hormone that gives you energy to get out through the day, right? So sunlight in the morning raises your cortisol level. That's what you want to do. But not only does it raise the cortisol level, it sets up your melatonin response in the evening. The stronger your cortisol level is in the morning, the stronger your melatonin response is when the sun goes down. So those are my tips for sleep, but sleep is really key, okay? Being physically active is also important. Now look, there's lots of levels of being physically active. I'm not saying you need to be, a rock climber or a CrossFit athlete, but walking, getting some steps in, even if it's in your house where you're just going up and down a couple of steps. The more physical activity you do, the better the fatigue is, believe it or not. I know it sounds crazy because when you're feeling that fatigue, it's the last thing you want to do. But if you sleep more, you just wake up feeling worse, right? We need to get that blood moving. So taking some steps is really, really important, okay? In terms of GI issues, I would say, so yes, bland, bland doesn't have to mean no taste, okay? But it does mean avoiding, if you really like spicy foods, you're going to need to limit your spicy foods. If you're already accustomed to it, you might be able to tolerate it. But if you don't have a lot of spice in your life and then you have a dish, boy, that can trigger some real GI issues. So try to limit like overly spicy foods, but you can still use herbs, right? Herbs are great and make it taste like something. You have to overuse the herbs. Use, way more than you think you need on your food, you add more. Everything except like table salt, not table salt, but everything else, just add a lot of it.
Right.
Dairy, okay, so you need to be careful with dairy. Dairy can exacerbate GI issues for a lot of people. If you don't have a lactose issue, fine, you still need to be mindful of how much dairy you're taking in. Having cheese.
What about sugars? What about sugars?
So, okay, so
discuss the impact of sugar.
So there's always that question that comes up is, does sugar cause my cancer to grow? Right? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, yeah, and also it can irritate your GI tract as well. So I've heard it, sugar and dairy can exacerbate cancer, but I've also heard that it can irritate your GI tract also. Okay,
so
can you talk to both of those?
Yes, there's not a lot of truth to the sugar and cancer issue. Everything breaks down into glucose, even vegetables break down into glucose. So the sugar itself is not necessarily, it's not terrible. Where sugar goes bad is when we have too much of it, and it can trigger pre-diabetes and just blood sugar issues. So you don't want to have tons of sugar in your diet, but a little bit is fine. If you want a donut one day, it's okay to have a donut. That's not an issue, right? But or a Kit Kat maybe. Or a Kit Kat. But if you're subsisting on, white refined sugar, that's not good for anybody. So you would want to avoid that. So it was sugar, and what was the other thing?
No, I asked, how can it irritate? Can it irritate your GI tract?
And sugar, and here's what irritates your bowel: sugar alcohols. So sugar substitutes like xylitol, sorbitol, which today you find used to just be gum, but now you find it in lots of sugar-free foods on the shelf, right?
Right.
So you want to avoid anything that ends in that OL, or if it has a lot of that OL, erythritol, sorbitol, xylitol. Those are your sugar alcohols. Those you should limit. Doesn't mean you can't have any, but you should avoid. Fruit is fantastic. You want fruit in your diet. It has so many nutrients. right? Berries are fantastic, and watermelon is great when you need hydration. So there's lots of good fruit out there.
So I want to ask the ladies, now that you're in treatment, you know what the side effects are. What do you wish you'd known what can you share with those who are watching, who are new patients being diagnosed? Or
I think one of the easiest things for me was to hydrate. And it was almost to the point of overhydration. Like 2 days before treatment, I would definitely step up my water intake. I found different things to put in water, so I really enjoyed drinking a ton. And then they would give me a bag of hydration while I was getting treatment. That seemed to make my days post-treatment so much better. And it was such a simple fix. So I would definitely advocate for that. I also would go home and, which would sound crazy, walk. I would go walk before I would eat something, take a shower, and then I would go to bed and start, the couple days of trying to get a lot of sleep and getting through the side effects. But walking and hydration seemed to be really tied to how much better I would bounce back after a chemo treatment.
Yeah, what helped me actually was, and if you're not getting this, I feel this will help. So I got a printout of the 4 cocktail of chemo drugs that I was getting, and a printout of each one and common side effects, right? So thankfully I had this printout, because then I would, discuss that with my doctor prior to, okay, this is a list of the stuff. And then once I, began my treatments, I would highlight those things that if anything that I saw on there was going on with me, I would highlight that to let my doctor know. I would write down stuff that maybe wasn't on this sheet, that's still happening to me. But to me, like doing my own sort of research, like I was just always like, if you give me something, then I'm going to look up, are there other education resources about this thing that even my doctor didn't give me, or somebody else who's gone through, hey, I'm getting this specific chemo, but just keeping a list of what's going on with me and being able to talk to the doctor about it prior and post, then that's really what helped me. And then, okay, how can we reduce what's going on with me?
I'm very similar with that. When they give me the medication, I ask questions like, what are the side effects? What's the most popular side effect, that they've seen so far on the drug? And they'll tell me, hair loss, nausea, or whatever. And so because I've been on certain treatments, then I know how to kind of deal with it a little bit more. But like now my body, the nausea medicines are like, my body's kind of like rejecting them now. I don't know.
Oh, no.
For me. So the hydration really helps. Before, I drink a lot of water anyway, but just the hydration helps a lot. I also I have my medical marijuana card. I'm not, I always say that, but I do. And now I found like a gummy that helps with the nausea. So I don't even take my nausea medications anymore. I'm like using that to help with the nausea, because that's the only thing that really helps right now. But I definitely write down the side effects. I'll talk to my nurses about the side effects and what's going on. I'll bring it back to the doctor. Sometimes they'll even bring it to the doctor to let the doctor know what's happening and how I'm feeling. Like right now on this medication, I'm like kind of conflicted if I want to stay on it because of how it's making me feel. But I know, that there's a process, there's things that we have to go through. But I'm also like advocating for myself. What else is there? So if you have to come off of a drug because you're not feeling, it's not, your body isn't taking well to it or whatever the case may be, you have to advocate for yourself to find out, what is next or what can be.
Now, I want to ask you, ladies, is knowing the side effects, well, you all have been in treatment or are in treatment, is knowing the side effect upfront helpful in terms of adhering to treatment? So like once for me, once I didn't know what to expect. They told me to give me a book and I had a class, but I was like, this won't happen to me. I had another class and I'm like, okay, but there are things I wasn't told in the book that happened to me. And because of that, I almost wanted to stop my treatment, to be honest. My mom's a nurse. She's like, you're not stopping treatment. You're going to have to, you have to start to continue rather. But are there things that,
I thought it was good to know up front. I mean, I just feel like knowledge is power. It kind of gets you ready, so I was happy to know some things up front.
and were they helpful to you in terms of adhering to treatment?
Yes.
Wonderful. Were there things you experienced, Amanda or Marica, that were more later term versus short term side effects?
Oh yeah, for sure. We were explained to earlier that whenever we, like Eric was saying, when there's some side effects that just happen within 24 hours. And so really with those gut issues and stuff, like they would just hit me. And so and then like now, still almost 2 years later, I still have neuropathy in my left arm and hand that sometimes just kind of comes out of nowhere. But yeah, definitely was feeling things stronger sometimes during my treatments. And then now they're a little bit, the symptoms are lighter, but I still have them, or side effects are lighter, but I still have them.
Right. Wow. What about you, Amanda?
I would agree. Even things that happen now, I'm almost 3 years away from my diagnosis. I will touch base. The first line of action is for me to talk with my oncologist over a regular general doctor, because I have everything tied to that. And I want to know, is this something that should have been expected? Is how do I deal with it as a cancer patient, or do I need to go to a general doctor type deal? So it's totally changed. But to answer your question about if knowing in advance helped get through treatment, I say absolutely. It prepares you to have the mindset that you have the power to get through this. So you know the benefits of taking this treatment, and maybe these side effects will happen, but if it does, it's normal and we can get through it. And so I really do think that plays into sort of the positive attitude and knowing that you're doing this to better your physical self, but also get in the mental part of it as well.
Mental is so important. I think that's the biggest thing. Once your mind gets in control of, like, because then it impacts your body and impacts how you manage your life during that journey. Because I was like, at first I'm like, what in the world's happening to me? Like, what in the holy guacamole? And then once I got to figure out, like, okay, I can expect this, but I learned that I was like, you know what? In this moment, I am breathing. In this moment, my heart's still beating. In this moment, the chemotherapy treatment is working to kill the cancer cells. In this moment, I can see my hands and feet. In this moment, I am still here. And just kind of things like that help me to get my mind, really focused in and just get through each moment, the next one, and then, and be present to life while going through chemotherapy. I wanted to ask also, for the HER2 positive side effects that are going to be more long-term and that may not be able to be preventable.
For me, when it comes to the heart issues that I have a cardiologist that I see on top of my oncologist, and they actually work together to make sure that I get cardiac MRIs. So to check my heart every 6 months, I get it, to check my heart and to make sure that my heart is functioning well.
I have a standing appointment with my oncologist every 3 months. And so we go over sort of side effects that I'm having to see if it's something that I need to screen for. But as far as having regular screening tests other than blood work, I haven't went as far as that. It's sort of as needed, which I think is traditionally the norm. But I'm grateful to have access and to be able to go. He's asked if I want to go every 6 months, and it's sort of like a security blanket. Like I still want to go and see him and really talk through if there's some, an ache or pain that I have, if I need to be concerned with it. So I say still continue to use that relationship that you have with the doctors to be able to give you peace of mind moving forward.
And where are you in the treatment journey?
I am done. I have had I had residual cells after surgery. And so I had follow-up months of adjuvant treatment. And then I opted for another treatment that I did for a full year. And I finished that in December. So I am done as far as what's available to me now. And
a few more questions. What are ways to like manage what you guys can and can't do while you're in treatment? Because you're gonna get tired, you're gonna have mental health days where you're just like, oh my God, like there's all these things we just discussed, you know, nausea, GI issues, chemo brain. How do you tell people that you just can't do certain things and just be true to yourself and honor yourself? Give yourself the grace you give to other people while you're going through treatment. Tameka?
Pretty much everyone knows that I'm still going through treatment. And if I'm up to it, then I'll go. And if I'm not, then I won't. I am not, you know, if I'm tired, I'm in here and I'm sleeping. I've learned, let me say this, to listen to my body. And your body will tell you what it needs. If it needs hydration, if it needs sleep, if it needs exercise, whatever it is, your body will tell you what it needs. So I try my best to listen to my body. I, you know, let people know, hey, I can't participate, sorry, you know, and if I can, I will do it. You know, I'm all about self-care. And part of that is being able to tell people yes or no and sticking to it.
I do say, I sort of on the opposite. I agree with everything you just said, but also when you do feel like it, I say go, just go, get out of the house and go do the things when you're feeling like it, take advantage of it. And then the other thing I do is really, and still do it today, is really block off my day and sort of time block it. I have 3 things each day that I want to get done. And kudos if I get those done, and it's okay if I don't, that it sort of helps me move the needle. So when I do feel great, I'm able to jump in and accomplish some things. And so I started that when I was in treatment. I sort of had a goal for the day and then could relax for the rest of the day. So take it easy.
Now, what is one word you would leave with the guests in terms of, you know, how this journey has transformed your life and how they can maybe expect to feel, you know, as they transform and grow and become more empowered throughout their journey? I'll start with Maricia.
Hi. So one word I would say, almost like routine. Like I have to now have a new routine. Like when I haven't gotten the rest that I need, when I haven't done the walks that I've done, I can feel it change in my body. So I say, get yourself a new routine. And I think the consistency of that just helps everything else sort of fall in place.
Yeah, and you're into fitness, right? That's part of your routine, the fitness and yeah, I love it so much. Thank you. Amanda, what is your one word?
Mine would be knowledge. I think that maybe at the beginning of treatment, when you're diagnosed, it's like a water hose and everything's being shot at you and it's overwhelming. You might have a tendency to shut down, but to be open to knowledge and continue to learn about if there's anything new that you need to look into, or are these the side effects that are really supposed to be happening? Just the more that you can learn about what to expect and then continue to advocate for yourself, I think the knowledge base that you have will really help.
Thank you so much. Tameka, what advice do you have for our patients who are watching right now?
My advice and my word would be grace. Extend yourself some grace during this time. It's going to be hard. It's not meant to be easy. So, you know, extend yourself grace and you'll be okay.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Eric. You're included, Eric. You're not getting out of this one.
Okay, I can't do it in one word. I have 5 words.
No one did one word. We did one word and then some.
There are 5 things I want everyone to focus on in their life, right? These are the things that will give us more health and well-being and vitality. 1, hydration. 2, sleep. 3, stress reduction. 4, physical activity. And 5, nutrition, making sure that you're well fed. Most people are underfed. Don't do that. Have a lot of protein in your diet. That's it. Those are my 5. Though you focus on those 5 things and you're good to go. But we don't, we tend to prioritize everything else. So those are the 5.
I love it. And I think mine would be self-love. I feel like cancer really put me in a space of knowing what self-love meant. It meant all that you all said. It's like listening to your body. It's nutrition, proper nutrition is giving your body what it needs to survive and to be able to heal, try to heal. It's the rest, it's the mindfulness, it's the exercise, all those things. And so I think for me, it's like, self-love means also being educated, being empowered, and being your own best advocate. I want to thank my beautiful, inspirational, heartfelt guests for their time today. I just feel so filled with this conversation. Eric, you are amazing as a nurse oncologist. We give you props for taking care of so many of us who are patients. You all keep us lifted up to do our work to try to fight cancer and get through it. And thanks to all those who are watching. Again, we love you. We're here for you. And come to Tigerlily as a space to breathe and exhale throughout your breast cancer journey. Until next time, much love and bye for now. Brought to you in partnership with Puma Biotechnology.